Let's, speaking of ramifications, Rob G, we all know, I mean, everybody that didn't have a rooting interest in these NBA finals pretty much was pulling for Chris Paul. And he lost. After going up 2-0, I mean, they began throwing flowers at him, and he's this, he's that. Oh, it's going to be great to see him finally win.
Chris Broussard was one of those guys, but yes.
Well, I was giving him his flowers.
Yes, you were.
Know?
You had 2 dozen red roses already ordered after game 2.
I was not one. I mean, I thought Phoenix would win the series, but you remember, you saw me on television. I was on all our shows on FS1. Probably said it on our show here on Fox Sports Radio that it was not over, and I gave all the reasons I thought Milwaukee would win the next 2 games, and they did. I didn't know they'd win the next 4, but they won the next 2 for sure. But anyway, Chris Paul can be a free agent. He's got a $44 million player option, okay? And considering how well he played, he was first-team All-NBA. He was in the MVP discussion. It's time for him to capitalize. So as much as that $44 million looks great, you know he wants to add a few more years of big money onto that. So he would love to turn that $44 million into maybe 3 years, 90 or 100 million. And so I believe he's still going to end up in Phoenix. I think if they extend him for 2 more years, so that 1 year 44 becomes 3 years, close to 100, then he's got to be happy, or 100. And I would give him 2 more years. Well, that'll end up being 3 more years. That's a lot. Woo. But anyway,
it adds up quick, doesn't it?
That's because I'd like to have him for 2 more years.
So
but anyway,
1 and 1.
Yeah, that's really what I like to do, because dude is 36. And anyway, a lot of people, though, are saying he could wind up with the Lakers. I'm sure you said that because you think everybody's going to wind up with the Lakers. And here's the deal. Let me just put the real out there. It's unlikely because, one, Chris would have to turn down that $44 million and accept a deal worth about $6 million with the Lakers. All right, so you're going to leave $38 million on the table to go play with the Lakers. And remember, Rob G, he's the president of the Players Association. So he knows that moves like this have ramifications. So if he does this, other agents or teams will say to agents and players, hey, Chris Paul left $38 million on the table to win a championship. Why don't you? And so I don't know that he'll do that. But also there could be a sign and trade. If I'm Phoenix and I'm going to sign and trade Chris Paul, I can get more than what the Lakers can give me. Maybe, probably. So I don't think it's likely. But I'm going to say this and then turn it over to you, Rob G. I think my preference would be for Chris to stay with the Suns and try to run it back. I don't think they'd win it. But I ain't going to be mad at him if he somehow went to the Lakers. Because I do believe, and I think it's clear, his best chance to get back to the finals and win it would be to play for the Lakers. If you're talking about the Lakers versus the Suns, I think Chris Paul, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis is a far better big three than Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and DeAndre Ayton.
Big facts.
Right? So I'm not going to be mad at him, but I'll say this and then it's yours. Here's the thing. If Chris were to win it with the Lakers next year, it's not a legacy-changing ring because he's going to be the third guy. He's not going to be the driving force. LeBron's going to get most of the credit, or if AD finally takes the throne, he'll get most of the credit, and then LeBron will be right behind him. It'll kind of be almost like when Jason Kidd won it with Dallas. Now, Jay Kidd is obviously one of the best point guards ever, but nobody really brings into the equation, oh, he won a ring too. He was a role player. I think he averaged about 8 and 6. Gary Payton's got a ring. Most people probably don't even know Gary Payton's got a ring, Rob G.
No, I completely forgot about it until this morning.
He won it with Miami and actually played a big role in that game 3 when they came back to win it down 0-2 and then won the next 4. But still, that's not legacy change. It's only legacy changing if you're one of the 2 driving forces in why you win the championship. And so, yes, it'd be good for Chris. It'd be nice to cap off a great career. He could finally feel the joy of winning. But those who don't have him who have John Stockton or Jason Kidd or Walt Frazier or Steve Nash ahead of Chris because he doesn't have a ring, him winning it with the Lakers is not going to make them say, oh, he's got a ring and Stockton doesn't. Chris is better. It just won't. If he were to win it somehow with Phoenix, that would do the trick. Floor is yours.
Well, you said a lot. I'm going to try to go through it, point by point, I guess, so I can try to keep up. Number one, you made a great point about him being the head of the Players Association. If there was a reason why this move would not happen with Chris Paul going to the Lakers, it's because of that. Because he cannot be the guy to set the precedent to be like, look, it's okay to take less money to go somewhere else. Like, if you're the head of the Players Association, your job is to make sure these guys get as much money as humanly possible. That is your job. So that's number one. That he cannot take opt out of a $45 million contract to take 10 from the Lakers. He can't do it. Number two, yes, the Lakers, if it comes down between them and Phoenix, 1,000% the Lakers have the best chance to win it. But more importantly, number three, I disagree with you about whether or not a ring would be a legacy-changing move for him.
Really?
And because it would depend how he plays en route to getting that championship. If he's like Gary Payton, like you mentioned, where people forgot he was even on the team, then no, it wouldn't make a difference.
What about Jay Kidd?
Jason Kidd was
starter.
Yeah, but he was like the fourth or fifth most important guy on that team.
Right.
And even still, if he was the second best guy on that team, Dirk's run during that postseason was so, iconic that everybody's going to associate more with Dirk first, second, and third before you even get to what Jason Terry did in that series, which was huge, or what J.J. Barea did during that run, which was also huge for a guy who's 5'4".
Yep.
You know what I mean? Shawn Marion, exactly.
He was locking up LeBron.
He was in the post. In the post, he was shutting down LeBron. But if Chris Paul comes to the Lakers, let's say they do win a championship, and he is instrumental, like he's not just along for the ride because, we do expect, LeBron's already slowing down a little bit, so we would assume as the years go by, he's only going to slow down more. So if LeBron's not giving you 29, 8, and 9 in a playoff series, maybe gives you 25, 5 and 5 or something like that, but Chris Paul is chipping in 16 and 10 assists, like you can't say he was just along for the ride. If he performs the way he did during this postseason in Phoenix, even though he had some clunkers, he was a big part in their run.
Now, he for the most part, man, he played well. People are overstating how bad he was in the finals.
Yeah, I would argue he was actually more consistent than Devin Booker.
Maybe. Booker, if I had to pick which one was better, I'd say Booker. But you're right. Booker had the two clunker games.
Right.
And Chris only really had the one horrible one.
Yeah, Booker had the higher highs, but he also had more lows than Chris Paul did. Chris was pretty steadily right around, 16
He averaged 21 or 22 and 9.
Yeah, like he was right in the same ballpark, night in, night out for the most part. So if he's able to duplicate that in L.A., I don't think that
well, he ain't going to average 22
Well,
and 9,
if he's able to be a consistent, legitimate third option, then I think it would help him if they win a championship.
He would be good. He would be better than J. Kidd in Dallas. And I'll give you, let's say he averaged next year 15 and 7 or 15 and 8, which aren't bad numbers. Yes, it would help, but you know how it is when you win it with LeBron, man. And that's not to mention Anthony Davis. So look, I've already got him locked in at number 5 for now, even though they lost this series. So for me, he's already there. But let me ask you, if you had John Stockton ahead of him, and you may, I don't know, but would winning a champion, let's say he's 15 and 7, plays well, but AD is the finals MVP, and then LeBron was clearly the second best player. Would that make you move him ahead of John Stockton?
I kind of agree with you, where even if he would have won this season, I feel like he can't get any higher than where he is.
Right.
Like I
Unless
think
he goes on a run.
Yeah, if you had him at 5th, then you're probably not going to get him up to 4th. If you had him at 7th or 8th, I don't think you're really going to boost him ahead of John Stockton or Jason Kidd now.
Right.
Like you kind of already know what he is.
Unless he were like to leave Phoenix next year.
Right,
you know?
right. The only thing I think that even with his legacy being elevated is not necessarily amongst the all-time point guards. It's like in the top 50. Like, oh, maybe instead of being 49, now he's 40 or something like that.
That's fair. That's fair. I'll give you that. That's pretty solid.
Thank you.
All right.
I got some takes that are positive and good every once in a while.
You're getting better. You're learning. I'm glad you've been listening to me. All right.